Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TOS Television Network, your digital first pan African news network. And guess what? It's the conversation. It's the Friday edition of the conversation. I mean, thank God it's Friday. I think I always look Friday on a Friday. My name is Ade Suwausi.
And my name is Merciful Ajunomo. Thank God it's Friday this well.
Yes.
How are you?
But you're still looking prim and proper like you look on Monday. You
Yeah,
should look
I mean,
Friday on
it's
Friday.
not Saturday and Sunday yet, so my weekend starts from Saturday. I told you before.
Okay, amazing. All right, you know, it's about that time where we bring you the quote of the day. I mean, there's no saying that you can't be so hard on yourself. Growth is a process. It cannot just happen once. I know that people that expect so much to happen, like I've put in so much and it just has to happen, but it has to be a process. You have to just, follow the process and enjoy the process and just basically be patient with yourself.
But then that's not an excuse for being nonchalant and lazy and stuff. Because
No,
people see this quote and say, "Oh, let me just be patient with myself. Step by step, I'll get there." You should work. You should put in effort and everything.
It's saying
but
self-growth.
still,
So it means that you're putting in work, but you might not be seeing the result that you want to see
Yeah,
at that
definitely.
time.
It's a process.
Because I know lots of persons that are very hard on themselves. It's like, you're doing so much, but you're not seeing it. And they're like, why is it not happening?
You
And
just
then you're
find the
beating yourself
balance.
up. Yeah,
That's
so
it. Just
I think
find the
that's what
balance.
Stephen is just trying to say. Look, it will happen. Just be patient with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Maxwell, don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay, okay. I hear you.
All right, we move straight into development across Africa, starting from Malawi, where the Malawian government is destroying expired COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the Malawian government has said it will destroy more than 16,000 COVID-19 vaccines that have expired. This was disclosed by the nation's Chief of Health Services, Charles Monsambo. TOS gathered that the vaccines were part of the 102,000 doses sent by the African Union 3 weeks ago. We have used most of the vaccines sent by the AU on Tuesday when they expired. There are only 16,400 left that had not been used, which will now be destroyed and thrown away, Monsambo said. Malawi has received 530,000 doses through the COVAX Global Initiative, the AU and the Indian government so far since the pandemic. How does this make you feel, Maxwell?
Yeah, I think even if the vaccinations they are very important, we should not, forget the fact that medicines can expire. Anything drugs can expire. So the processes of giving out this vaccine should be faster, so we don't have to waste it. And now that we're having expired vaccines, it's like a bad news to some others who have not taken it. So they're like, "Oh, how do I know this is not expired?
Exactly.
Do I get to see this syringe, or do I get to see whatever you're using to administer the vaccine to me? How am I supposed to see the dates and everything?" So I think there should just be efforts to make sure that the vaccines are like administered before even close of the expiration date.
I'm just very concerned for the people of Malawi because they received these vaccinations 3 weeks ago. Turns out a lot of them have expired.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, have they administered expired vaccines to some persons? That is
the questions one begin to ask is like, what is the side effect? What happens?
Yes, exactly. Well, hopefully nothing happens to those people that receive the vaccines.
Hopefully. All right. And now to Nigeria here, where the federal government is enforcing sanctions over abuse of expatriate quota. The federal government, through the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aragbeshola, has moved to make sure that expatriate quota is strictly implemented and authorized in the country. This is coming as a result of the high rate of misuse by foreigners who have now taken job opportunities meant for Nigerians. Rauf Aragbeshola said this on Wednesday while delivering a speech titled "Easing Foreign Direct Investment Without Jeopardizing Local Content Considerations" during a stakeholders meeting in Abuja. Addressing this situation, he said that it is very essential for government to address abuse of business permit and expatriate quota by foreigners that is now on a high pedestal. He said that the situation has gotten out of hand, adding that some of the abuses we have discovered are egregious. We have seen cases of expatriates fraudulently coming into work as bricklayers, painters, and even high-end consorts. Some also circumvent the rules by dubiously acquiring Nigerian citizenship through scam marriages. This is very sad. It's sad and funny at the same time.
Yes, that's
because we're thinking that people, Africans go to the Western countries and try to, get involved in their processes, get, green cards and everything. Now, we're having people come to Nigeria to get jobs and claim, according to what he's saying, claim to be Nigerian. So, like...
No, because I feel like because it's... the process to maybe acquiring citizenship or just coming in to work as a foreigner
It's
in
not
Nigeria,
that difficult.
it's not very stringent.
Yeah.
So you could have a foreigner live and work in Nigeria for the longest time possible, and people wouldn't even know that that's happening. Otherwise, in maybe Western countries and all of that stuff,
even
you
some
cannot
African
even,
countries.
yeah, you cannot even work without papers and all of that stuff. You have to even hide from the authorities. But in Nigeria, you see them working freely, and that's why, because I've heard over time where people come and say, "Oh, I work for an expatriate, and he's very mean, he's very this," and then they'll tell you. I mean, in your country, and they'll tell you nothing is going to be done. I will do this, and you can't do nothing about it. So I do understand Ralph Arabishala saying, look, we do appreciate foreign investment and coming to invest in the economy and all that.
Be to the detriment
of Nigeria. So we have to find a balance it out. While we're doing the foreign investment, we should not be at the detriment of local.
Because if it goes up, if it goes a scale further, this is what happened in South Africa, talking about xenophobia, crying about jobs and everything. I really do hope that can happen in Nigeria because we have big, there is enough space for people and everything, but the effect is what we're not sure about, and that's Ralph Arabishala coming out to say this. So I think we should do something about it before it gets out of hand.
Exactly, but I don't think Nigerians are not xenophobic people.
We're
Nigerians
not.
love foreigners.
Definitely.
They love foreigners, so that might not even.
It may be a different effect entirely.
Exactly.
Maybe on the economy or anything.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not sure.
Totally. All right, still in Nigeria. So inflation rises to 18.17% in Nigeria. Sad news, I guess. The National Bureau of Statistics on Thursday released the Consumer Price Index as CPI report for March, stating that the country's inflation rate increased by 18.17%. The NBS said the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 0.83% points last month, which is higher than the 17.33% rate recorded in February. The March figure is the highest since January 2017, when it rose to 18.72%. It further stated that the food inflation also increased by 1.16% on a yearly basis, from 21.79% in February to 22.95% in March. The urban inflation rate increased by 18.76% year-on-year in March 21 from 17.92% recorded in February 2021, while the rural inflation rate increased by 17.60% in March 2021 from 16.77% in February 2021. In March 2021, food inflation on a year-on-year basis was highest in Kogi with 29.71%, Sokoto with 27.02%, Ebonyi with 26.59%, while Abuja 20.10%, Kebbi 19.98%, and Bauchi 18.61% recorded the slowest rise, in year-on-year inflation. On month-on-month basis, March 2021 food inflation was highest in Rivers and Gombe, while Zamfara recorded the slowest rise in month-on-month food inflation, with Yobe and Kebbi recording price deflation or negative inflation. That's general decrease in the general price level of food, or negative food inflation rate, the CPI report. Now, even though that's a mouthful, but it is expected. I mean, with the level of insecurity we have in the country, and that farmers don't even go to farms anymore because we have bandits, we have herders, the whole those clashes. It hampers on the productivity, of the country.
Agriculture is a sector that
Exactly.
that remember we had someone on the show yesterday talk about manufacturing things, products and everything. Agriculture is something that we have leveraged on over time to boost our economy and make sure that the inflation rate, decreases. And now we cried for 17 point something percent. Now it's at 80 point something.
Exactly.
So what do we start doing now?
So I really wouldn't and then the borders are closed to importation of food items. So it's like we have to produce what we consume here in regards to food, but we don't have enough people producing food because of the level of insecurity. So it's expected that we're going to have increased inflation rate. But I'm just very sad about the end users, the common Nigerians who might not even be able to afford all of this food or price hike. And then in the other state, I think it was in Gombe, you're seeing the decrease in prices because probably they have so much, but no, people aren't buying them because there isn't money to buy them. So they have to bring down the price all the way low. So it's crazy. While we're having inflation, we're still having, unnecessary deflation.
Really do hope that something's going to bounce.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so to the next story, police limit movement in Rivers State over local government election. The Rivers State Police Command has announced it will limit movement of persons, vehicles, or any other mechanically propelled engine, either on land or waterways, between the hours of 12 midnight on Friday, April 16 and 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 17 in the state. The reason for this is the forthcoming local government election, scheduled to hold on Saturday, 17th April. This was contained in a press release from the Public Relations Department by State Police Command, which is made available to TOS News. This development came after a meeting with the Commissioner of Police, Eboka Friday, who chairs Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, had with other bodies directly responsible to superintend over election in the state. According to the statement, the command had deployed a total of 17,500 personnel to be complemented from other sister security agencies, noting that the restriction is necessary to ensure full objectives of the council election and engender a seamless exercise.
I mean, that's where the country is at right now. With the level, like I was saying earlier, with the level of insecurity in the country, you'd expect that so much security will be deployed, for
especially
election
in a time
process.
of election.
Exactly.
Going by what has happened
What
in the
has
past.
happened, exactly. It's not even, what has happened in the past, I think Nigerians just expect to be some level of unrest during elections, but with the heightened level of insecurity, banditry, and terrorism that we have in the country, maybe not terrorism, that we have in the country at this time, it is expected. I was saying I was worried about insecurity affecting the general elections, how they're going to balance it out and everything. I think that's what the River State government is just trying to do everything necessary to ensure that we don't have casualties, during the election. All right, that's too much you could take on this segment of the conversation this morning. We are going to go on a break now, but that would be to bring you COVID-19 updates from across Africa. Welcome back. That was COVID-19 update from across Africa. And as is my custom, I'm going to tell you that the numbers are still not encouraging and we have to see drastic reduction in the numbers. So you have to do your bit to ensure that you and the next person is safe. So take all the precautions that you can take or that you should take, because we can't say you can take because people are going to be like, oh yeah, I can't do this. But take precautions that you should take, and then take the vaccines if your country or your state, that's if you're in Nigeria, has started rolling out vaccines, so that you and the next person can be safe. All right, we move now straight into newspaper headlines and newspaper reviews for this morning, and I'm going to be starting with the Blueprint newspaper. Starting from the very top, inflation rises to 18.17%, March on back of food. And then under that, Sterling Bank trains secondary school students on financial literacy. That I'm very excited about. And then just underneath the Blueprint header, stop fiscal riskality, 60 billion naira was printed. Obaseki tells federal government. That story is on page 14 of the Blueprint newspaper. And just beside that one, improper APC registration may mar national convention. That's coming from Buni. And then to the very gaping headline on the Blueprint newspaper on Zamfara State, 16 illegal miners in court for defying Buhari's order. Two riders under that headline. The first one says, we won't allow unpatriotic elements tamper with our resources. That's coming from the ZNSG. And then reminds Buhari on 6,000 troops to fight banditry. That story you can get on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. And just underneath the picture of the day, I think we will see, people welcoming the president back into the country from his medical trip abroad. Underneath that one, contaminated juice kills 10 in Kano, 400 hospitalized. Sad news. And two riders under that one. The first one, sellers count losses as cleric faithful caution. 10% of Cardinal residents into drugs. That's coming from Peru. I don't know what Peru that is, but I have to read up on that one. And then underneath that, federal government apologizes as 8 of 11 power plants collapse. Wow. Buhari returns to Abuja after 16 days in London. On page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper, Chibok girls kept in houses taught Quran recitation. That's on page 8. And then the last one says, troops in control of Damasak. That's coming from the army. That's on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper.
I'll move over to the Daily Trust newspaper and we'll bring it from the very top as well. 10 killed, 500 hospitalized after drinking juice in Kano. And that particular story can be found on page 6. The next one is how acting IGP Usman Baba was appointed. And that was coming from Buhari. You can find that on the Daily Trust newspaper as well. And to the very obvious headline there, 10 months pay delay threatens border security operations. We have 3 writers underneath that story. The first, officers fear compromise as men turn unruly. The next, we are made vulnerable. Customs Finance Ministry shift responsibilities. And then the headline under the picture of the day, Dangote BUA reconcile after trade dispute. That can be found on page 5. And inflation rate hits 18.17%, highest in 4 years. That particular story can be found on page 16. And besides that, the federal government lifts ban on registration of new SIMs. That can be found on page 3. And the last headline is gunmen disguised as mourners kill 3 policemen in Ebonyi State. And that can be found on page 6 of the Daily Trust.
Quite sad, actually. Moving away from the Daily Trust to the Nigerian News Direct. Also starting from the top of the newspaper, someone kicks off construction of rail mass transit red line. Beside that one, poor power supply, federal government begs Nigerians. And then beside that, Oshibajo Pantami hail Ogun for taking lead in digital economy. All of that stories are on the news, inside the News Direct newspaper. And then just going over to the very gaping headline on the Nigerian News Direct, IGP disbands monitoring units nationwide. Federal government lifts ban on new SIM registration by telcos, makes NIN mandatory. Unveils new policing vision, crime fighting strategies. And the last rider on the headline, assures new operational protocols will end banditry. And then just underneath the picture of the day, Buhari returns to Abuja after successful medical checkup in London. And I think that's all of the headlines on the Nigerian News Direct, actually.
All right, we move over to the last headline, and that's the Daily Times from the very top. It's a Kiri Royal Rumble. Suspicion poses overall low of worries death. That can be found on page 2 of the Daily Times. And then the 3 headlines and then the pictures of the day. There is President returns. Buhari returns, says, I have high expectations from IGP service chiefs. That can be found on page 4. And talking about inflation, Nigeria records 18.1% worst inflation rate in 4 years. That story can be found on the Daily Times as well. And peace at the palace. Please invite warlords, broker peace among fractions in the Sekiri Palace battle. That particular story can be found on page 4 of the Daily Times.
So which one of this caught your attention this morning?
Of course, it's the inflation rate. It's the highest in 4 years. Do you know how bad that is? In 4 years. And we're meant to, be going downward in the curve, but now we're going upwards, and that's very sad, because we have different, sectors trying to boost their sector, trying to increase the capacity to make sure that we are scaling up in terms of economic growth. But the year is coming, we're going to next year, and we're going high, and that's very bad. That doesn't tell all of Nigeria, actually.
It doesn't, actually. But I think aside, the level of insecurity that we have in the country, I think another issue that might have caused, the inflation rate is the direct impact of the pandemic on the economy. A lot of economies across the world, even not just Africa, are still trying to recover and then put things in place to ensure that we get back to where we were, or better, than where we were before COVID hit. But while we're still trying to get economic recovery from the pandemic, there's the insecurity issue, there's a manufacturing and production issue. So I think all of this contributes to the high level inflation that we have in the country. So I'm just hoping that we start to balance the curve out. I don't know how we're going to balance the curve and just flatten it, but I just hope that happens.
We just have to keep hoping.
Yes, exactly. All right, that's the newspaper headline or newspaper review segment of the conversation this morning. We will go on a break, and then when we'll come back, I will be taking you through what is trending on social media.
TOS TV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, and the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much you are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igbenegbu, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back. It's about that time where I bring you my favorite segment of the conversation. That's what's trending. But before, we get to talk about what's trending on social media, you know that I'm always going to remind you that you can be a part of the conversation. Just follow TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to TOS TV Network on YouTube so you don't miss out on the amazing content we have there for you. And also you can stream the conversation on www.tostvnetwork.com. Now bringing you back to what is trending on social media. Now I think everyone knows that President Muhammadu Buhari is back in the country after 16 days in London, for medical checkup and routine medical checkup. Well, In the wake of that, the hashtag London has been trending, after his arrival, people talking about it and all of that stuff. So I'm just going to read out a few tweets, to that regard for you. The first one is coming from popular public speaker Reno Mokri. And it says, Dear General at Muhammadu Buhari, welcome back to Nigeria. I'm sure that after the surprise package we arranged for you in London, you will think twice before returning. That's returning to London. Now you know what my people and I are capable of. Please focus on building hospitals for yourself and the masses. Regards. And then the next one is from @nat_oye. And it says, it's so horrible that the president of a country of over 200 million people, having the money to invest in providing adequate healthcare for his country, decides to invest this money into patronizing the healthcare service of another country of about 60 million people. Some Clef is saying, I remember when I was told to mind my business, that I should face my abroad. Today, some people are praising Buhari in London and you're still mad. Can't you see that you self not the problem? Please enjoy Buhari till 2024. And then the last tweet is from Mayor whatever. If the pro-Buhari in London loves Buhari so much, they should sorry, I'll take it again. If the pro-Buhari in London loves Buhari so much, they should relocate to Nigeria to enjoy Buhari's good governance. Now, I know that when the president left the country for his routine medical checkup, it created quite a fuss on social media, quite a buzz. I mean, he left at a time when doctors were saying, we're asking for basic things, and then we're going to go on strike. But he left the country to go for a routine medical checkup anyways.
And he's all in the health sector.
Yes. I mean, and then so he's back now, and then people, and I know when he left the country, I think some people went the staged process to London.
Yeah, Buhari, I think Buhari out of London.
Yes, processed in London, saying, look, you can't be running away from the health sector that you refuse to, impact on, build, and then you're coming here to do your routine checkup. And then he's back in the country, and people are saying, oh, welcome back. You're still the same way you left it. And so what do you think about, all of this happening?
Yeah, I really do think that people, we've expected him to be back for far too long now. 16 days, a lot has happened. We had, even the judiciary workers go on strike, as well as ASU, and the doctors said, oh, they've fulfill just some parts of what they were asking for. And they harassed Buhari out of London, whatever the hashtag, it trended for a long time. And they were like, look, we're only looking for some things, we just need some things to be attended to. Our health sector needs to be improved, everything. So we had Nigerians in the diaspora. Some people even left their countries to go to London to partake in the protest. It was a thing on Twitter. So, yeah. And I think Reno Omokri, who tweeted the first part, was one of the people who started the protest and everything. So we are hopeful that by him coming back, there's so much that will be done, in terms of ASU, the education system, what they're asking for, the health care system, in terms of improving the healthcare for workers, even the judiciary system, everything basically that people have been asking for in the last couple of months. Everything, we're hopeful the president is back, our daddy is back, according to what some people said. So something should be, it's just the way some people travel and come back and bring goodies and everything, say, don't worry, I'm back and everything. That's how it is. The president is like the daddy of the country. So
yes.
So pretty much hopeful.
That would crack me up. But what my disappointment was when I saw the news that he was going on a routine medical checkup in London. It felt as though he was waiting for the borders or the airports to be open so he can just go. The borders or airports were shut down for medical trips and all of that for like a whole year or thereabout. And my thoughts were, okay, these people finally see how much we actually need, to improve our health sector, because COVID hit, and it really did hit us hard because, I mean, we didn't have the number of casualties that, other countries had, Western countries, European countries had. I'm not sure why that is, but thank God we didn't have all of that stuff. But it was still evident that our health sector was way below par, and we needed to do something about it. So I thought, since they couldn't go on medical trips abroad, they couldn't do all of that. They understand that, oh, this needs to be done now. There's an importance in it, and then they're going to just take care of all of that stuff. But turns out none of that happened. And then once he could actually go on a medical trip abroad, he left. And he left at a time when doctors were even saying, look, you need to do something about the health sector. You need to take care of this and take care of that. And I felt as though he didn't care about all of that stuff. So I just care about going on my medical trip, and that's what it is. And then somebody did say, you're going abroad to spend money, you know, give doctors that left Nigeria for a better climate where things work, the health sectors work. You're going there to give them the money that you couldn't give them here. So basically, you're still going to be, you know, taken care of by
and spending money.
Spending money on
I was moved by that statistic that someone mentioned, you know, in his tweet that said there are just 60 million people. You're going to a country of 60 million people. You're leaving your country of 200 million people to go for a better healthcare system. Exactly. Now, 260 is like there's a huge gap. There's a huge difference. So is that one I open up also see the need for our health sector to be better? Because if everybody starts traveling, imagine I had an ailment and I needed to go abroad to treat it, and someone else. People will start traveling. So what will happen to our health sector? What about those who cannot travel, those who do not have international passport, those who have some emergency illnesses that they have? You know, some people have timing. They're like, in the next 24 hours, you have to fix this.
Yes.
What happens then? I think this is really a big deal that we should talk about every day till something is done about it.
As much as we say security should be the priority, health is also important.
Very
health
important.
Is very important.
Very important.
I think that should be looked into. Now that he's back, I hope he's going to, because you know, one of the newspaper headlines, he came back and he's saying he has so much expectations for the service shifts. So he's back and his first point of call is security. But I hope he's still going to look at the health sector, because who knows, one day he might not be able to travel abroad, you know, for medical checkup, and he has to, you know, fall back on what we have here. And then if we don't have what he actually needs or require at that time, who knows what's going to happen.
And all of this, it tells a very bad story for people who are coming into Nigeria in tourism, you know, coming to do investment. Looks like, look, if the president of this country can leave to treat himself, how can we expect that our lives are secure in terms of our health? Can we really rely on the doctors in Nigeria? Because if the president of the country is traveling to get routine checkup, meaning he needs it. Yeah, exactly. That's what it means. Yeah. Routine means you have to be here this time, the next time you have to be here this time. So if the president of a country can do that, then you as someone who is not based in Nigeria, who doesn't live here, look, oh, if I'm going there, I have to step out again. So it affects everything, not just the health sector.
Exactly. So we're imploring, you know, the authorities, the president of this day, to look into, you know, the health sector in Nigeria. There's a lot that needs to be done. It's deplorable at this point. There's a lot that needs to be done to boost the health sector in Nigeria. So, you know, we don't have to have people, other countries making so much money on medical tourism off of us here in Nigeria. Okay, that's the what's trending on social media segment of the conversation this morning. And you know, it's about that time where we go on a break to bring you the big story.
North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Watch us on television, channel 138 on TSTV Africa.
You're welcome back to the conversation, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, that is TOS Television. And don't forget, you can always be a part of the conversation, like this was said, by following us on our social media platforms at TOS TV Network across all the social media platforms, actually Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our website www.tostvnetwork.com. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to get the most amazing content that you can find. And this is this time where we'll bring you, the big story, the most important segment of the conversation. And this morning we're talking about Ramadan. Muslims all over the world are currently observing the Ramadan fast, which is a necessary practice in the holy month of Ramadan. They believe that the month provides them with a rare opportunity for getting God's forgiveness, getting their prayers answered, among other benefits. With the commencement of this year's Ramadan fast, 2S Television sampled the opinion of some Muslims here in the FCT to know some of the benefits of indulging in fasting during Ramadan. Do have a look.
Sincerely speaking, I think this is a very big opportunity for us, the Muslims, because in the month of Ramadan, the doors of Jannah are open and the doors of Jahannam are closed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala easily answers prayers in the month of Ramadan, because a Muslim fasting has a closer connection with his God. So I would like to entitle all Muslims to engage themselves in the prayers and prayers at midnight for the country, because we are in an economic recession. And we find ourselves as in a country where the security is, I think, is very bad. So I think all Muslims should use this medium, this month of Ramadan, to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us and our country, and to make our country a safer place for everybody.
Ramadan fasting is very important, and he has certain teaching for every one of the Muslim that he enter Ramadan. You have to practice that type of teaching so that it will enable peaceful life, and it will also enable peace of mind.
During Ramadan special, God is forgiving our sin for what we have done for particularly 1 year. If you don't do Ramadan, God will answer your prayer and forgive you all of your sin that you have done for 1 year. For inside Ramadan, we have a strong opportunity to pray to Almighty Allah for this what is happening, kidnapping and other things that are bad things. Yes.
As the popular saying goes, prayer is man's greatest weapon and power. And so in today's episode of The Big Story, we'll look at the opportunities the Holy Month provides and for Nigeria as a nation and its numerous challenges. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss this is Mr. Shoaibu Gimba. He is a Muslim cleric, a lecturer, as well as a political analyst. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, Mr. Shoaibu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to be with you this morning.
Good.
Thank you.
So first of all, what are the benefits of fasting, with the psychological, physiological health benefit of fasting in this holy month of Ramadan?
Well, thank you very much. Just the way you have put it, actually, there are the various benefits of fasting in all these aspects that you have mentioned briefly. Let me take it just the way you have put it. First, looking at the physical aspect, when somebody is engaged in fasting, you are expected to shun everything that will bring you into discordance with your neighbor and fellow citizens. And not just to shun that discordance, but to have a heart of tolerance, to tolerate your fellows to a maximum extent, which is a basic thing that has been lacking among citizens in this country, for example. So fasting will emphasize the need for such accordant behaviors among fellows. And the basis for this is that the Prophet himself has emphasized this to the extent of saying that if somebody is engaging in a fast in a particular day, and you are being approached by somebody else for any friction or things that will get you into trouble with somebody, just shun by simply telling him that I am engaged in fasting. Do not yield to any invitation to trouble. So you should just simply respond by I am observing fasting, to show that you are not into getting into any discordant thing with anybody. This demonstrates a sense of humility and tolerance on the part of the person fasting, which in turn is capable of discouraging the aggressor or making him to see things in an alternative manner. Psychologically, fasting instills in any individual the uncommon virtue of being contented with the bounties of God, the Creator, that is Allah, the Almighty. So we often ignore most of the things that we should appreciate God for. But during the period of fasting, we are meant to re-echo this thing and to come into reckoning with them. Somebody who has just missed, because what happened during fasting, we miss a meal or two. And by that process, you are made to have a feel of what some people have been going through all their life. So the psychological effect of this is for you to have seen that you are so privileged to have been the one who can afford 3 square meals, and then it now brings you to a perspective that you begin to appreciate the difficulty of those who have been less privileged, and of course the need for you to share with them and also to come to their aid. This will also tame the innate or the insatiable attitude for selfishness and the overindulgence in comfort at the expense of others who are going through a dehumanizing pain also. Then, just like I said, the spiritual aspect of fasting, of course, if you look at the verse in the Quran that where Allah ordained fasting, it specifically says that, O ye who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you the way it has been prescribed upon those who came before you, so that you may attain piety. So from this verse, it is clear for one to deduce that what is to be harvested in fasting is that spirit of being pious. So if somebody is to engage in fasting and at the end of the day, nothing of impact is made on your level of piety, it means that the whole essence of engaging in the fast is defeated. And what are we talking when we say piety? To live in accordance with the rule of God. Then the last point, that is the health benefit of fasting, like you said. You see, our internal organs, the digestive system in particular, have a lot of organs that we overwork. Because every food, every meal that we take is like we are subjecting these organs to continuous process of processing the food and eliminating those that are supposed to be eliminated, so that the actual one that is needed by the body will be assimilated and so on. So when the more you eat, the more you keep these organs working all the time, and you can imagine what it means that throughout your life, these organs will never have a time to have a break, except during the period that you keep away from eating or when you are fasting. So I think that itself has an essence because it offers this organ some relief. And you must have also, we all know that there are certain health remedies that somebody will be prescribed to go through a process of fasting. So fasting has been identified as a remedial health program. So if somebody is suffering from obesity or some ailments such as that, we often hear that they are being made to go through a period of fasting.
Okay,
so
Mr.
This
Shargis,
is what
so
one can
you hear me?
outline in brief as the various benefits that are embedded in this exercise that we engage in now.
Can you hear me, Mr. Shaigo? Okay, so having said all of this that you said now, how does this now translate to, intervention for the country, looking at the many challenges the country is faced with right now? So how do we translate all of these benefits, like, divine intervention and all of that stuff? How do we translate it into, intervening for the many challenges that the country is faced with right now?
Yes. Thank you very much. You see, one of the principal challenges of that we are facing in this country emanates from our lack of discipline, from the leadership to the followership. And from what I have just outlined, you would have seen clearly that I mentioned as the purpose of fasting the instilling of discipline in people.
Yeah.
So when you come to a perspective, when you are made to see it from the inside, that now you are supposed to have consideration for your fellow citizens who are less privileged, then just think of it. how do you think if you are entrusted with what is going to make these fellow citizens enjoy a better life? If you have this innate feeling that okay, you are morally bound to see to their welfare, just because of the kind of discipline that will cultivate in the era of fasting, then if at all you find yourself in a position that you are the one who is supposed to even make better welfare their lot, then you can imagine how such an individual will be perceived to approach such a situation. So I want to believe that the kind of discipline we are talking about will help to tame corruption. It will help to tame wickedness, which have all been the bane of our problems in this country. A situation whereby somebody is pleased to enjoy whatever is entrusted to him at the expense of others can only be tamed when you have people internalizing some of these things that we claim to cultivate. Because one of our problems in this country is that we are people that are known to be zealous about religion. But if you look at our attitude, these religious concepts and ideas that we profess, we don't internalize them at all. And it is lack of internalizing of this principle that lead us to things like corruption, wickedness, and whatever you have that we unleash on one another.
Okay, you did mention that Nigerians are very religious people. And then,
Yes.
you know, it's been the perspective of so many people that, you know, religious extremism is the bane of terrorism that we have in the country today. In your opinion, how do you think we can tackle that?
Yes, let me admit that this is very true.
Okay.
In our contemporary life, that there is actually this problem of religious extremism that we are contending with. And I think the very existence of this problem emphasizes two basic needs, which I'm going to point out now. One, much as we have people who perpetrate this extremism in religion, we also have genuine clerics. So I think it poses a further challenge on these clerics, these true clerics of the religion, because people who perpetrate religious extremism, they are not only misrepresenting the doctrines of this religion, but they are also misrepresenting who they claim to be. Somebody will say that he is an adherent of a particular religion, and in a surprising way will be doing things that are against the teaching of that very religion. So what I will first suggest is that those who are the true clerics of this religion should take it as an additional challenge on their part to actually clarify some of the misconceptions that has been introduced by these various extremists and make people to see things in the right perspective. That is on one side. Secondly, people should be judgmental and critical about whatever is presented to them. A situation whereby just as an audience of a particular cleric, you decide to make yourself gullible to whatever is presented without subjecting it to a critical thinking will mean that you are not actually using the faculty that you have been endowed with. And of course, God has a purpose for endowing every one of us with a sense of faculty to be able to judge. And so it seems like people don't actually put their faculty into judgment when it comes to reasoning. And that is why everybody can just come and present or sway in any direction that you like, because you know that you are not looking at issues from a very critical perspective.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shabi, for joining us on the show this morning. Thank you so much for shedding so much light, on the issue of Ramadan and how we can further use that to help Nigeria at this point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. I mean, Ramadan is supposed to be a time of reflection, and I hope that we can use that, like I said, to reflect and instill discipline, and then, curb some of the insurgencies and some of the many challenges that Nigeria is faced with at this time. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. That's the most we can take on the conversation. But don't forget that you can stream the conversation on www.tostvnetwork.com, and you can also be a part of the community or the conversation by following TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also subscribe to TOS TV Network on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of the amazing contents that we have lined up for you on there. My name is Adesu Alsui.
And I am Merciful Ajinimo. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the show. Have a wonderful weekend.